In this video, we'll be looking at views. Alright, let's get started, guys. If you're new here, thank you for coming over. Really appreciate you on my channel. So today in this video, we'll be looking at views. If you have not used it in Postgresql and databases, well, you should because it's a pretty cool construct. So what is views really? In my opinion, views can be considered as object. So of course, views are not going to be present in non-object relational database. PostgreSQL is an object relational database, so there is definitions like views, which mainly work as an object. It provides a scope on top of a base table on which you define, and it doesn't really save data inside, but the view itself is physically present on the database and can be reutilized. So if you're thinking about getting away from inner queries or common table expression, which uses where you repeat the same thing again and again, well, views are your friends. All right. So on over here, you can see I have a few of the kind of like the backbone available. So what we would be looking into is we'll be creating a table, primary table. First of all, we would be dropping if it exists to, I had to do my homework. So then we would be looking into selecting, checking our table out. Then we would be doing a CT definition, which is also a way to use reusability into your or drawing up your code. But we'd also see the limitation which CT provides. We would not spend a lot of time because probably in the future I'll be creating another video where we could learn together about CTs, inner queries, and how to analyze them, etc. How to make them more performant, etc. Apart from that, other than that, we'll be looking into how we create views. We'll be looking into how do we do select operation, insert operation, alter operation, delete operation, drop operation, and also we'll be looking into drop table, what to do when we're dropping the main table on which a view is dependent. All right. So are you excited? I am. Okay. Let's take a look. So over here, I think I already created a table, and I don't want you guys to be confused. So let's actually drop the table. Okay, let me close this guy. So dropping the table, how do we do that? Pretty simple. A lot of people, even I, used to think it's just drop table, table demo, right? Well, not really. If you do this and there is no table existent, or there are views associated with this table, then you might get an error. And if you are using this query in a production, although I tell you only the migration, like for example in Rails migration, they make sure that if there are views, etc. available and you are dropping a table, they make sure that there is the view is also dropped, or they also make sure that the migration, when it's running, it checks if if a table exists. That's what we would be doing today. So the way to drop the table safely is drop table if exists, right? If the table exists only, then drop it, right? Drop table if exists, then the table name, and there are multiple like parameters. By default it's called restrict, but over here if you want cascade action, then you could provide a cascade. What this cascade keyword does is, if there are objects, if there are views associated with this particular base table, it will remove the views as well. We'll be looking into this over here. All right, we'll be learning more about it. All right. Okay. So let me run this query and let me do a select all. So now it says that, hey, this select all is not valid because, well, we just dropped it, right? Okay. So let's get started fresh. Here I am. Let me make it a bit bigger. All right. Now it's more visible. Let me check. Yeah, I think so. Okay, so create table demo, pretty simple table. There's one ID, one name field. Okay, we could create ID as a primary key. I'm not gonna go into detail. We can have another video in which we'll be learning more about, we'll be learning together more about how to do proper creation of table and taking a look into edge cases. But here, I'm just gonna create a simple table which has like ID and name. Name is varchar. ID is integer. Varchar is pretty much like text or string, and yeah, I like varchar. You can provide your own character count, or you can let it be as default. Okay, so let's check it again. It doesn't exist. Oh, I didn't run this query. So now this query is done, and as you can see, the table is pretty much empty. So what would be the next thing to do? It would be to insert, right? So here I have pretty simple kind of silly names. Yeah, the two of them are my names, but anyway. So we have insert into demo table, and we can, or we may not even need to provide the ordering, you know, if the ordering is by default. So we do this, and now let's check it again, and we have these data available in the table. All right, now our main gravy is prepared. Now let's prepare some pasta. All right, and let's like take a look into a view. Okay, but before I go into there, I would take a look into CTEs as well. What are CTEs? Why am I talking about CTEs over here? So CTEs are common table expression. These are reusable expression, but there is a caveat to that. I will explain it. So with respect to reusability, all the time we learn about dry your code, but what are the ways, what are the tools available to drying my code up? All right, so if you have used inner queries, common table expression is mainly you preemptively define whatever you're gonna be using across maybe across the scope of a query. So we define it as, let's define this greater than 2. Okay, with CTV as, then you define here and select all from demo, where also I actually like to have each of my, you know, like the keywords on separate line. I just like it. If you don't, it's fine. Select all from demo where ID is greater than 2. Now you can see there is an issue. What CT needs is a bracket for the expression. It's an expression, right? All right. So this is the common table expression, and then we define the query where this CT is going to be utilized. So now we saw that, all right, this was the common table expression. That's where we're gathering all the data. Let's see if we could reutilize this common table expression again. Whoops, it doesn't exist. So the whole point was CT inner queries, you could utilize it, but it's going to be present. Let's say I'm not stopping it, but let's say I have another nested query inside and I need to use the same data again, you know, let's say select all from something, inner join, or maybe we are doing like inner join this guy, you know, and so on. So for the scope of one particular query, you could reutilize common table expression again and again. So that's a better thing to do compared to inner queries, for sure. So inner query is like the worst. You're defining it again and again. And secondly, you know, inner nested query. Secondly, you can use common table expression. You take out whatever is the repeated code and you put it all the way on the top, and then you know, over the scope of that particular all the queries, you could like reuse it again and again. But we saw like, all right, out of the scope of that particular query, it's not defined. So the next level of reusability is view. Again, what is view? It's an object in Object-Relational Database programming language. or object-relational databases, which is database apart from object-oriented programming available. I won't say object or like there's no full functionality of object-oriented programming, but there's a good enough availability of objects and OOD principles, object-oriented design principle available for us to harness. So we'll be creating view, which would be again just an object, and it would provide a reusable scope. It would not create data again, so there would be no redundancy of the data but across table, but there would be another separate entity created which is physically present in the database, which you could utilize again and again across out of the scope of the query definition. A lot of jargons. Okay, let's take a look into the example. So how do we create it? Create view. Okay, pretty simple. Then we would name the view as greater than 2. As the good thing is here you don't have to do like, I mean you could do brackets, but you don't have to, just like but CT utilize it. So create view this as I could do as whatever is my query. The right approach would be for view is, let's do the definition here and select all from same. Okay, same definition just like here. I removed it. Demo. So from where it is greater than 2. All right, we created a view. Awesome. Now let's take a look at the select. All right, like that's the first operation, the first database keyword we all probably know about. So what does select do for views, and how do we do it? Pretty simple. It's the same thing. Select all from greater than 2. Pretty simple. And now as you can see, we can access it just like we can access a table. We can also do inner joins if we need with other actual tables, if we need to. Actually, let us create a table for that sake. Let's just do testing. All right, demo. Now products. Okay, user ID. All right, integer, product name, varchar. All right, so I created another table. The reason why I'm creating this table is because I want to do an inner join between a view and this product table. So I do more. I would actually add it here, insert into products values. So you maybe user IDs. I'll just do like 3. Okay, 3 Pikachu. I recently saw that movie, Detective Pikachu. That I mean, movie is so, but the Pikachu like looked weird, dude. So I was like, what is wrong with this Pikachu? It's like weird expression, man. So that was creepy. Anyway, and Charizard. Yeah, I'm feeling the Pokemon rush, right? All right. Let's also check our products table. Nice. So Pikachu and Charizard is here. Now the reason why we created product table is so that we can see if inner join can happen between a view and an actual table. All right. So select all from greater than 2. Select all from greater than 2. Inner join products on ID equal to user ID. Awesome. Look at this. So what you did is you just join a view with an actual table. Okay, we just do inner join on ID and user ID. Pretty simple. There was no like the right best way would be, provide that this git.id as product is username. I think for clarity, this is a better way to write. Yeah, my bad. I should not have left it ambiguous. Anyway, so here we got the results pretty much. So the point I'm making is views, you can reuse views. It will save you memory. I mean physical memory. Although that's interesting. It doesn't store the data, so there will be no redundancy, but it creates an object which accesses, kind of temporarily saves the scope. That's interesting. Anyway, so as you saw, you can pretty much do all the operations you do on with a particular table. You can think of a view as pretty much a table. Okay, let's take a look into insert. Okay, pretty simple, just like you do in a table. Insert, how do we do it in a table? Insert into greater than 2 values. The values would be, I want to insert, I don't know, 5, and thank you guys. All right, here we go. Let me do a query, select all from greater than 2. So this is weird. Thank you. Okay, so here we go. Thank you. All right, now let's take a look at the main table as well. Let's see if that table got updated or not. Well, it did. So yeah, if you, by default, if you add a value, if you insert a value in a new row in a view, the main table would also be affected. Why? Because the data actually lies in the main table, right? All right, let's take a look into alter. View definitions over here, like we did, create view. These definition by construct, by implementation, Postgres doesn't allow you to alter those definitions. But you can always change, rename, alter the column, like set default, etc. for a particular view. Okay, so let's take a look at it. The right way to approach this would be AlterView. Okay, best thing is to always check if exist. Yeah, what has happened? If exist. Okay, AlterView if exist, and of course I'm taking a look at my notes. So, and yeah, the name and the column. Okay, if exist, the view name is greater than 2. Let's for example rename 2. I want to rename this to something else, new. Okay, now let's take a look at our greater than 2 table. Yeah, what do you think will happen? Greater than 2 is not defined because we just altered the view and reset the name. So the new name is this guy. All right, so now this one is accessed. You can always set like column, let me check column name. Yeah, so different user greater than 2. What was the definite name? Okay, not user. Name. If this is a column name, set default expression. So you can set AlterView if exists greater than 2, name, column name should be, yeah. Okay, we already have AlterView if exists greater than 2. that's interesting. Ah, that's why. Alter column. Okay, there we go. Yeah, if you're doing an update, I got confused because there were two of alter. Yeah, if you're doing an update on the column, let's say we are setting a default value, we are setting key, etc., then we would have to do AlterView if exists, then alter column, and then whatever is the column name. So I'm gonna do like name, set default, maybe 0, something like that. All right, set I don't think we can set like primary key, but yeah, we can set like defaults, etc. Drop text search template reset. What is this? No, that's not applicable to this. Yeah, set default. You can set the default value, change the default value, etc. So these are the functionality which pretty much AlterView provides. I don't think you need to. And there might be use cases where, let's say, you have a view, and you are reutilizing that view again and again. You don't want to drop it, and you just want to change something without changing the table. Maybe you can do the AlterView, but normally a lot of time people just drop the view or create a new view. Although reusability wise, AlterView is a better way to go about it, but it is what it is. All right. Okay, let's take a look into delete. How do we delete data? If we delete data from the greater than 2, what happens? So let's check the greater than 2 new. So the data is, these all data present. I am going to issue a delete statement. How to delete the view? Also, does deletion of view delete the data in the database or not? Again, if you want to totally change the definition of the, let's say I want to delete everything which is greater than 5, well, that doesn't fit the scope here, the scope of the view we provided. So for that case, we would also probably have to drop the view, or we would have to create a new view. But here, let's say, given a particular view, given the data definition, the definition of the view already fixed, how can we delete the data in there? So the right way to go about it, delete from greater than 2 new where id equals 5. Pretty simple. And then we'll take a look at this. Nice. So of course, just like table, it dropped the id 5 column. Now let's take a look at the main data. I mean like the primary table on which this view relies. Well, you can see that data also got deleted from the main table. So by default, that's how it happens. If you drop a particular a particular row from a view, that row would be dropped from the main table as well. All right. I would say like, I should say delete, not drop, because drop is also about dropping the whole table. So yeah, I would say, I'll correct myself. I would say delete, not drop. If you delete a row, it will be also deleted by default from the primary definition, from the primary table on which the view relies. Lots of jargons. Anyway, let's think about dropping. Let's say I'm done with the view. I don't want to use the view. I want to throw away the view. All right. So pretty simple. Drop view. Okay. Greater than 2 new. What do you think? This is all right or no? Drop view greater than 2 new. No, it's not all right. Why? Because this might throw an error if the view doesn't exist. So the right way would always be to do an if exist. So drop view if exists greater than 2 new. All right. Now let's check our main table. Everything is all right. Let's check our view. Well, this doesn't exist. Why? Well, we just deleted, right? We just dropped it. Now, what if I don't want to care about dropping each of the views, but I want to just drop the whole table on which there could be multiple views dependent, you know. So let's actually create this view again. Go to the definition. I'm going to run this again. Okay. Also, all right, here. So now we are taking a look into what if we drop the table. Okay, let's try it. Okay, drop table demo. Also, again, if exist is important. I would always recommend add if exist. Just make your query better. All right, do an edge case check. Drop table if exist demo. What would happen? What do you think? Pause the video and comment. All right. Un, dos, tres. All right. Okay, we got an error. It says that cannot drop table demo because other objects depend on it. So that's the reason why we need by default it's restrict, which is doing a restriction on the objects, and that's why it's throwing an error. So if we want to drop all the views related to this particular table, we should do a drop table if exist demo and cascade. That's gonna delete. Let's actually take a look at the output here. Okay, there we go. Let me clear the output. Okay, let's see what happens here. So it dropped the table, but it also did a drop cascades to the view which is greater than 2. So cascading caused the view to be deleted, and that's what we wanted. Now let's now this is going to be like a bonus. Let's say we have view dependent upon the view we created. All right. So I think the table would not exist. Right. We just deleted the table. Right. So let's create the table again. Again, at this point of time, what we're checking is what if there are dependent on view on the view definition, which is dependent on the table. What happens? Okay, let's see. So I'm going to insert everything here. Okay. Then I'm going to create this view. All good, all good. Yeah. I'm going to do one more thing. Let's try to create one more view on top of this view. Okay, would it work? Would it not work? Let's see. And from a table you can create a view, but from a view, can you create a view? Let's see. Greater than 3. Okay. As we take greater than 2. What do you think? Will it work or not work? Pause the video. Comment it. 1, 2, 3. Let's try it. Awesome. We just have a new view which depends on the greater than 2 view. So again, view, it's the same. It's just that it's an object which everything which a table can do, almost everything. A view can do that. We can create view on view and view and so on. Here you have the possibility of creating like children and so on, just like we do in object-oriented programming. Pretty cool, huh? So anyway, now let's take a look at these 2 views. We have 3, 4. All right. Wait, what did I do? No, I should do this. It will say this already exists. So I'm gonna do this. 1 second. Yeah, I should have changed it. Okay, I'm gonna drop this view and I'm going to recreate this view again because the definition I did was wrong. Wait, did it? All right. So let's take a look at greater than 3, right? All right, there we go. So the first view is greater than 2, of course, which is 3 and 4. Greater than 3, of course, is 4. Hello, right? Now let's see. That's interesting. Let's do the same operation on insert. Okay, what happens? All right. Let's say I insert here. Okay. And now let's take a look into these views. Also, let's take a look into, so what I did here, I inserted into the view, dependent on the view, dependent on the table. Okay. So I'm gonna go here and I'm going to check As you can see, the view on which greater than, first let's take a look at greater than 3. Actually, that would be a better thing to do. So greater than 3 has the data present, get the new data which got added, of course. Greater than 2 also has the data present, okay, and the main table also has the data present. All right, pretty cool. So again, the same logic applies when it comes to insertion, deletion, etc. Now let's go all the way here, and now finally, so the same logic with deletion will apply. If you delete here, it will, you know, in the primary table, in the view dependent, in the main view, successive views, it will be affected. Now let's try to drop view greater than 2. Okay, let's see what happens. Again, you cannot do that. Okay, why? Because another view is dependent on that. So if you want to just delete it, you would use cascade, right? That is going to take care of both views, but it's not going to delete the table itself, okay, the main table. Now, question for you: pause the video, take 3 seconds, think of what it's going to do, or open up your terminal, you know, like your IDE, and start. So what do you think is going to happen when I do this? Drop table if exists demo cascade. Would all views get deleted? Would just the table get deleted? Will I get an error? Let's see. Oh, nice. Now let's go here. What happened here? So drop cascades to 2 other objects. So there were 2 objects dependent on the main table, and that's what it's saying, that hey, the cascading deleted, actually dropped other 2 views. So now these table or these views will not exist. We just dropped it. All right. So that was all, I think, almost everything about views, and I think I utilize views in the code I write. SQL statement, it's pretty good to, you know, organize your code and make sure that the same thing you're not repeating. Also, you're not really creating another table and dealing with migration. You just want an object to be defined which you can reutilize again and again. We looked into creating a view from a table. We looked into why CT is only effective for the scope of the state of the SQL query where it is being utilized. We looked into how to create view. We looked into how to create nested view. I would say not nested, but like view dependent on the whatever view you provided. So there could be like multiple cascades of views. We also looked into select, how to select. Pretty simple. We saw that a view can be treated as table, so inner join, all kind of joins, and all kind of operation you can do on a table. Views allow that. We also look into altering. Although altering is not utilized a lot, it is a good safe way to alter your view if needed without dropping everything and creating again. We also look into delete. We looked into how to delete a particular row from a view or a dependent view, and how it affects the main table, the view, the parent view, and so on. Finally, we looked into dropping a view. It's always good to use cascade and if exists so that error doesn't happen. And at the end, we looked into dropping the main table and what it does with the other views. That's all I wanted to talk about in this video. Thanks for watching. All right.